McPhail and I, recognizing the abilities of each other, realized it would be foolhardy to try and share the same territory without others quickly wising up. By uniting our styles, we felt it should be an unbeatable combination. Our merger worked out beautifully. McPhail would act as a bird dog in flushing out existing games going on within the camp or organizing new ones, and I would bag them by applying the simple rules of percentage. To describe it as like taking candy from babies would be an understatement. In my third week of my stay at Camp Elliott, my mother wrote saying she was on her way to California and would be staying with her sister Laura in San Bernardino, about 115 miles north of San Diego. I immediately called my aunt's home and found Mother had arrived and was excitedly waiting to see me. I told her I would be there that weekend and I too was happily looking forward to our being together. I informed McPhail I would not be around for the next 2 or 3 weekends and he would have to run things alone. By this time, we had a blackjack game going on in our barracks during the early evenings, which usually lasted an hour or so, and then we would head for town. McPhail had arranged for permanent special passes, so we were free to come and go as we liked. He never explained and I never questioned how he had obtained these passes, but I could guess. The nights we spent in San Diego carousing around were great fun. We particularly enjoyed starting the evening with a good supper and relaxing conversation before visiting the bars and the girls. By midnight, we were usually back at camp feeling well fed and sexually contented. McPhail was a straight guy. Besides the bankroll reserved for our play, we never kept track of the rest. After each game, one of us would pocket the winnings to be used as a common well for us to draw from whenever we wanted. When I sent for my mother, he insisted all expenses for her trip be taken out of the pot. The only negative thing I noticed about him was his dislike for blacks, colored in those days. When I asked him why he did so, he replied it was because he didn't own any. The weekends I spent with Mother I'll never forget. The first one was a little awkward in our getting reacquainted because she was confused with the mental change in me that only 2½ months had brought. She quickly adjusted, as was her way, and we were able, for the first time, to converse with each other on an adult level as equals. She told me things were going better with Bond, but missed me and feared for me being in the Marines. I assured her not to worry because her advice to be careful would always be heeded, and promised I was going to make the world kick through with a better life for us both when I got out of the service. I told her I remembered the rotten way she had to live in order to hang on to me and would never forget the despicable Bible-spouting hypocrites who were responsible for forging such intolerance. Mother and I were close in many ways, but were far apart when it came to an interest in people. She liked all types and was really concerned with everyone. Considering the way society had tried to depreciate her, this was a mystery to me. I suppose I too was an enigma to her in this respect, because in spite of the fact everything came easy to me, I still regarded most people as not being worth the powder to blow them to hell. This feeling was a carryover from their treatment of her. She could forgive bastards, but I could not. You might consider this a warped attitude to embrace, but it has served me to better enjoy life by allowing few people close enough to hurt or disappoint me. Someone once wrote, "Only when you know the worst, can you enjoy life?" Eddie Ross advised me to develop a thick skin so nothing could penetrate, and said that even though I would never be able to feel the extremes of happiness and despair, I wouldn't be a yo-yo either. Mother was a proud, hard-working, and ultra-clean lady who would never steal a penny or tell a lie even if her very life depended on it. Of these qualities I only inherited the pride, endurance, and passion for soap. She used to say, son, I don't know where you get it from, because I always taught you better." It was only on the day she died, years later, that she said, "Son, you were right about people." On our last weekend together, she put on her best act not to appear sad, but I knew her heart was breaking for not knowing when, if ever, she would see me again. Aunt Laura and Uncle Jim tried to help by taking us up in the Arrowhead Mountains where we had a beautiful, clear view overlooking the entire area. San Bernardino was a lovely, clean, citrus farm town in those days. Today, it is just another typical overdeveloped smog-infested suburb of Los Angeles. On March 10, 1943, we left Camp Elliott for the South Pacific aboard the U.S.S. Mount Vernon. This was the first ship I was ever on and my first time at sea. Formerly, the ship was a beautiful luxury liner catering to wealthy travelers. When the war started, it was badly converted into a transport capable of carrying troops and supplies. Most of the men were packed into hot, stifling cargo holds that reminded me of slave quarters. McPhail and I bought a four-place deluxe stateroom, with private facilities, from a sergeant in charge of space assignments. From the first day out we had a nice thing going, just lying around the air-conditioned cabin, reading and shooting the bull. We gave up the idea of trying to enjoy the open-air decks. They were filled with troops unable to live or sleep below, because of the heat and stench of puke. These poor bastards spent most of their time trying to sleep or be fed, if they were capable of eating. The chow lines would start immediately after each and every meal and would stretch all over the ship. Most of the time the food would run out before the line ended, and then there would be some every irate SOBs. The ship's crew were civilian merchant marines and real hustlers when it came to turning a buck. McPhail and I quickly scouted out the officer's mess cook when we saw the eating conditions forced on the enlisted men. McPhail said if we had to buy our meals, we might as well eat the best. The deal we made, or I should say were compelled to make, was outrageous. Rather than bribing one cook, we had to pay off two. One was in charge of the crew's mess and the other, the officers. Physically and mentally similar as brothers, in their early 30s, light brown to sandy hair, about 6 feet, slender, and with a definite money-hungry outlook. These two belly robbers pretty much commanded the whole damned ship through their food and booze control. They demanded, with a take-it-or-leave-it attitude, $5 a meal, which amounted to $30 a day for us both. These meals were to be served in the small dining section reserved for galley help within the kitchen. We swallowed this deal with difficulty, but it was better than standing in line all day for swill. I was dumbstruck when McPhail told me these merchant marines made over $2,000 a month when sailing in war-zone waters. Our pay was $60 a month, which included an extra $10 overseas combat allowance. We agreed we had stupidly joined the wrong Marines. About 4 days out I was beginning to go stir nuts being cooped up in the cabin. Early in life I found I had a slight case of claustrophobia, which required space and a little activity to keep arrested. After dinner one night I asked McPhail if he would like to go with me and hunt up a game. This going out for action instead of allowing it to come to us was necessary, because when we first boarded the ship and obtained our stateroom, we agreed to keep it privately to ourselves and not turn it into a game room, although we could have made a bundle. McPhail begged off, saying he wanted to do some reading, but if I came up with anything, he would join me. I cruised around the dirty, steel decks, stepping over countless miserable filthy bodies, and thought what a filthy miserable way to transport men to their possible deaths. Being 16 I thought I was divinely immune and only others could die. Perhaps this is why the young go along with jealous and ballless old power junkies who fabricate these deadly money-making abominations. It was during this walk that the little faith I had in our American system's guarantee for equality and justice died forever. The cause of death was due to a quick and simple case of comparison. Among the mass and mess of sprawling, wretched humanity I observed, through a partially closed curtained window, a beautifully arranged formal-type banquet being musically enjoyed by many immaculately uniformed and cologne officers, including many young females I surmised to be nurses. I started, disbelieving, at this aberration that almost transcended my memories of Van Horn's supper club. Pulling myself together, I continued my careful stroll down the deck, spieling loudly, cigars, cigarettes, schlemiels. Having had my full exposure to madness and my phobic satisfaction, I returned to the cabin to chew the fat with McPhail. Being close to the cruise galley, I thought why not see if I could score for some coffee. Considering what we were paying these crooks, I felt they shouldn't object.
Thanks for watching. Please kindly subscribe to the channel and like the video.